Today is Friday, November 21st, 2025. This is Read Through the Bible.
Hi, everyone.
You know, it's almost Christmas time.
Yes, it is.
And sometimes when people give gifts, they also provide the receipt with the gifts as well.
Like a gift receipt.
Why do they do that?
In case the person wants to return it.
Yeah. And we kind of see a gift that was given to someone today in our reading who wants to return it. Oh. This is King Hiram, who's going to see the cities that Solomon gave him and sort of like they're second-rate cities, and so he wants to like give them back. Wants to change them or wants to get better or something like that. This is Solomon had receipts given with the gift and he's trying to return them. So anyway, I got the big I'm trying on the illustrations to bring us in with an entertaining sort of thought as we begin our reading. That's my attempt. Okay, 1 Kings chapter 9. As soon as Solomon had finished building the house of the Lord and the king's house and all that Solomon desired to build, the Lord appeared to Solomon a second time as he had appeared to him at Gibeon. And the Lord said to him, I have heard your prayer and your plea, which you have made before me. I have consecrated this house that you have built by putting my name there forever. My eyes and my heart will be there for all time. And as for you, if you will walk before me as David your father walked, with integrity of heart and uprightness, doing according to all that I have commanded you, and keeping my statutes and my rules, then I will establish your royal throne over Israel forever, as I promised David your father, saying, you shall not lack a man on the throne of Israel.
2 Samuel 7.
Yeah, so this is like 2 Samuel 7 repeated all over again, that he promised to David, you walk in my ways, and if the son walks in your ways, and here Solomon, the Lord speaks to him directly, if you walk in his ways. But, verse 6, if you turn aside from following me, you or your children, and do not keep my commandments and my statutes that I have set before you, but go and serve other gods and worship them. Ding, 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 ding. We're going to see that in 1 Kings, of the other kings and the sons following after other gods. This is what God's going to do. This is what God did. Verse 7, then I will cut off Israel from the land that I have given them, and the house that I have consecrated for my name I will cast out of my sight. That happened when Babylon came and destroyed the temple. And Israel will become a proverb and a byword among all the peoples. And this house will become a heap of ruins. Everyone passing by it will be astonished and will hiss. And they will say, why has the Lord done thus to the land and to this house? Then they will say, because they abandoned the Lord their God, who brought their fathers out of the land of Egypt, and laid hold on other gods, and worshipped them and served them. Therefore the Lord has brought all this disaster on them.
And so I have written in the margin there, obey equals established, disobey equals ruined.
That's good.
Verse 10, at the end of 20 years, in which Solomon had built the two houses, the house of the Lord and the king's house.
7 years in the house of the Lord.
Right, and 13 on his own house.
Yep, and the house of the Lord, that was in chapter 6, and his own house in chapter 7.
Verse 11, and Hiram, king of Tyre, had supplied Solomon with cedar and cypress timber and gold, as much as he desired. King Solomon gave to Hiram 20 cities in the land of Galilee. But when Hiram came to Tyre to see the cities that Solomon had given him, they did not please him. Therefore he said, what kind of cities are these that you have given me, my brother? So they are called the land of Kabul to this day. Hiram had sent to the king 120 talents of gold.
That's where he wanted a receipt to return them or something.
Yes.
Kind of hard to return a city. And this is the account of the forced labor that King Solomon drafted to build the house of the Lord, and his own house, and the Millo, and the wall of Jerusalem, and Hazor, and Megiddo, and Gezer. Pharaoh, king of Egypt, had gone up and captured Gezer, and burned it with fire, and had killed the Canaanites who lived in the city, and had given it as dowry to his daughter, Solomon's wife. So Solomon rebuilt Gezer, and Lower Beth-horon, and Baalath, and Tamar in the wilderness in the land of Judah, and all the store cities that Solomon had, and the cities for his chariots, and the cities for his horsemen, and whatever Solomon desired to build in Jerusalem, in Lebanon, and in all the land of his dominion. All the people who were left of the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, who were not of the people of Israel, their descendants who were left after them in the land, whom the people of Israel were unable to devote to destruction, these Solomon drafted to be slaves, and so they are to this day. But of the people of Israel, Solomon made no slaves. They were the soldiers, they were his officials, his commanders, his captains, his chariot commanders, and his horsemen.
These were the chief officers who were over Solomon's work. 550 who had charge of the people who carried on the work. But Pharaoh's daughter went up from the city of David to her own house that Solomon had built for her. Then he built the Millo.
3 times a year Solomon used to offer up burnt offerings and peace offerings on the altar that he built to the Lord, making offerings with it before the Lord, so he finished the house.
King Solomon built a fleet of ships at Ezion-Geber, which is near Elath, or Elat, on the shore of the Red Sea in the land of Edom. And Hiram sent with the fleet his servants, seamen who were familiar with the sea, together with the servants of Solomon. And they went to Ophir and brought from there gold, 420 talents, and they brought it to King Solomon.
Yep, so here we see like the 2 Samuel 7-ish kind of covenant affirmation again to Solomon. Mm-hmm. And then we see Hiram not so pleased with his cities. And then just a bunch of administrative things about Solomon and the labor he had and the works that he did.
Yep.
Okay, and then in chapter 10 comes one of the greatest stories in all the Old Testament, I think.
About the Queen of Sheba coming to see Solomon.
Yeah, I say it's one of the greatest stories because it shows just how great Solomon was. He is arguably the greatest king that ever lived, the most wisest, the wealthiest of all kings of the earth. And it really comes in the dovetail of David's leadership and his kingdom. God ushered in peace with Solomon to be able to build this temple and to unite this people and to be so rich and wealthy and wise. Chapter 10. Now when the Queen of Sheba heard of the fame of Solomon concerning the name of the Lord, she came to test him with hard questions. It's interesting what kind of questions those would have been. Maybe like she's just trying to rule and reign her country, and just what you're doing
for advice?
Probably. She came to Jerusalem with very great retinue, with camels bearing spices and very much gold and precious stones. And when she came to Solomon, she told him all that was on her mind. And Solomon answered all her questions. There was nothing hidden from the king that he could not explain to her. And when the Queen of Sheba had seen all the wisdom of Solomon, the house that he had built, the food on his table, the seating of the officials, and the attendance of his servants, their clothing, his cupbearers, and his burnt offerings that he offered at the house of the Lord, there was no more breath in her. In other words, it took her breath away.
And she said to the king, "The report was true that I heard in my own land of your words and of your wisdom. But I did not believe the reports until I came and my own eyes had seen it. And behold, the half was not told me. Your wisdom and prosperity surpass the report that I heard. How happy are your men? Happy are your servants who continually stand before you and hear your wisdom. Blessed be the Lord your God, who has delighted in you and set you on the throne of Israel. Because the Lord loved Israel forever, he has made you king, that you may execute justice and righteousness." Then she gave the king 120 talents of gold and a very great quantity of spices and precious stones. Never again came such an abundance of spices as these that the Queen of Sheba gave to King Solomon.
Moreover, the fleet of Hiram, which brought gold from Ophir, brought from Ophir a very great amount of almug wood and precious stones. And the king made of the almug wood supports for the house of the Lord and for the king's house, also lyres and harps for the singers. No such almug wood has come or been seen to this day. In fact, I've never seen any almug wood.
I don't know what it is.
I have no idea.
Verse 13, and King Solomon gave to the Queen of Sheba all that she desired, whatever she asked, besides what was given her by the bounty of King Solomon. So she turned and went back to her own land with her servants.
Now the weight of gold that came to Solomon in 1 year was 666 talents of gold, besides that which came from the explorers and from the businesses of the merchants and from all the kings of the west and from the governors of the land. King Solomon made 200 large shields of beaten gold. 600 shekels of gold went into each shield. And he made 300 shields of beaten gold. 3 minas of gold went into each shield. And the king put them in the house of the forest of Lebanon. The king also made a great ivory throne and overlaid it with the finest gold. The throne had 6 steps, and the throne had a round top. And on each side of the seat were armrests, and 2 lions standing beside the armrests, while 12 lions stood there, one on each end of a step on the 6 steps. The like of it was never made in any kingdom. All King Solomon's drinking vessels were of gold, and all the vessels of the house of the forest of Lebanon were pure gold. None were of silver. Silver is not considered anything in the days of Solomon.
Wow.
Wow, yeah. For the king had a fleet of ships of Tarshish at sea with a fleet of Hiram. Once every 3 years, the fleet of ships of Tarshish used to come, bringing gold, silver, ivory, apes, and peacocks. They had their own little zoo.
Yeah. Verse 23, so thus King Solomon excelled all the kings of the earth in riches and in wisdom, and the whole earth sought the presence of Solomon to hear his wisdom, which God had put into his mind. Every one of them brought his present, articles of silver and gold, garments, myrrh, spices, horses, and mules, so much year by year.
And beginning in verse 26, we're going to see Solomon in just all his riches and everything that he has. It's quite amazing. It's really the pinnacle of Israel's history with such a wealthy king. Verse 26, and Solomon gathered together chariots and horsemen. He had 1,400 chariots and 12,000 horsemen, whom he stationed in the chariot cities and with the king in Jerusalem. And the king made silver as common in Jerusalem as stone, and he made cedar as plentiful as the sycamore of the Shephelah. And Solomon's import of horses was from Egypt and Cu, and the king's traders received them from Cu at a price. A chariot could be imported from Egypt for 600 shekels of silver, and a horse for 150. And so through the king's traders they were exported to all the kings of the Hittites and the kings of Syria. I mean, that all sounds really wonderful and really great, and it is great. It is quite amazing. But back in the law, when God spoke about a king, he said in Deuteronomy 17:16, he must not acquire many horses for himself. And verse 17, he shall not acquire many wives. We're going to see that on Monday when we look at 1 Kings 11, lest he turn his heart away. That's what they did. And nor shall he acquire for himself excessive silver and gold.
But Solomon did all of that.
Yep. And
to his downfall.
Yep. So, I mean, in many ways, you look at the end of chapter 10, and it is just an amazing pinnacle of Israel's history. Yet God had warned when this pinnacle would come that there would be a price to that. Solomon's wives, we'll see that on Monday, going to turn him from the Lord. And then we'll meet the downfall of Solomon. Okay, but that's on Monday. We will see you tomorrow in the Proverbs. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.